Thank you, Chair. I did not have a luxury of having a team preparing 2 days in advance that there's something coming. But I've been with National Treasury, so I'm used to standing up in front of lots of audiences because of the implementation of MSCOA. I don't know if a lot of people remember me from there, but the CFO will. He was one of our piloting municipalities, and the remarks he made about roads was very prevalent for me. At National Treasury, we had 22 municipalities that I went to visit on a yearly basis at least. And me and my colleague, Mr. Carl Strout, always said, if we go into a municipality, we know how the audit would look like by looking at their roads. So I'm not quite surprised of clean audits at Umklatoes because their roads are magnificent. Give him a hand of applause again. Now, on the vein of planning, I've always been saying, and I've been saying it for a long time, and maybe I'm prejudiced towards Treasury's side, but in South Africa, we've got the best laws. And we don't understand the effort that went into the establishment of those laws, of our people coming in front of us. Now, I'm just taking the simple MFMA and the accountability cycle that came to be from the MBRR perspective. Now, that is going to tie in perfectly with what has been said in the past 2 days. But the accountability cycle talks about the IDP, the budget, the SDBIP, the in-year monitoring, the AFS. Now, if you look at ITIL, it talks about a Deming cycle. Now, this whole accountability cycle that was established actually speaks to this accountability cycle in a Deming cycle principle. You plan for your assets as well as the other components, but mostly the assets, because the municipality is actually its assets. It is service delivery, it's the only core responsibility. So in the IDP, the communities come and make up the wish list, 15-year plans, but it is then filtered down with a budget, with the departments having to fight for that money. And that is why the sector departments and not finance make that decisions. And that is where the budgeting process, funded budgets, which is being pushed very hard to make sure that you are actually spending money where it is needed most, taking the rule of fives into account. The next one is then where you are doing. This is where you are monitoring the SDBIP and the in-year monitoring. On a monthly basis, we should actually be monitoring how far we are spending our grant money, how far we're spending our borrowing, and how far we're spending our capital money that we have planned to go and spend. So it is critically important that that component does not get lost, and it is actually a tool already being built into the environments. The last one is the testing phase. And a lot of people think AFS, annual reports, audits, those are just things that closes off the book, but that is where you go and test. That is where you see where your policies have failed, where you have not maintained your assets to the optimal levels. Now, from our company's perspective, that is where we are in the unfortunate position that most of our clients that we get has been gone through the degrading process where there is no asset registers. They have been disclaimed in some instances for 16 years. So then we have that level of 5 that we need to go and then spend extremely amounts of time. And we are sitting with poor municipalities, so you cannot then go and spend that money to get something in place. But where we then find that in the current environment and in our technology age, if you are using your technology to the optimum level, you can take a lot of the effort to establish the asset register. And I'm getting to the point of establishment is the biggest core and your biggest effort that you have to put in. So we go and we do a total revaluation. We fly our drones, we bring in all the GIS information that we can, and then you go and find those exceptions, where you then start pulling in the humans again, and you go and focus on the 20%. Because if you're going to do 100% without the effort and the ability of your machine-learned bots, your algorithms that we have built up over the time that it has been starting with the fourth industrial revolution, we would never be able to take municipalities, and in some instances within the first 2 years, from a disclaimed audit opinion to an unqualified audit on assets only. Taking them further than that is sometimes much more, but we are fortunately a company that don't only focus on assets, but on the full end-to-end of a municipal accounting cycles. So in the act phase, where you then go past the test, you then go and reconstruct your policies, and you go and fine-tune your policies. You go and say, no, this is where we are doing. And from the presentation from both these colleagues on the table, it is quite evident that that is the processes that has been followed. And they have basically used the framework of the law that was given to us, which we are being pushed, and we at some stage felt bullied, but I believe that our government laws has been well thought through, but if it can only get to implementation. The last thing that I just wanted to also mention is also an ITIL construct. Knowledge only comes through data. The information about that data, as soon as you start informing that and it is going across the timeline, data with information gets to knowledge. But through testing, continuous testing and continuously improving processes is when you get to wisdom. And it sounds to me like Umklatoos is there. So again, congratulations, sir. Thank you.